Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for spending some of your morning with us today. We are very excited to welcome Patty Breach from the Purpose Collective. So I'll hand it over to her in just a moment. I wanted to do some quick housekeeping and then we'll get started. So just as a preface to today's discussion, Patty has been kind enough to provide us a templated welcome series, and she certainly can expand on this, but I'm going to be sharing that as a Google document in the chat so you can access that. The other thing I wanted to mention before we get started here today is I know there's a lot of excitement and anticipation for Colorado Gives Day. And along with that, the trainings and the resources that help support you and your campaigns. So just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. We are working hard to deliver those to you as early as possible this summer so that you have plenty of time to absorb all those great resources, sign up for all the great training webinars this fall. To get you ready for Colorado Gives Day. All right, with that, I'll hand it over to Patty. Patty, thank you so much in advance for today. We are so excited for this topic. We know how important it is for engagement and retention, and so take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I know how busy you are as nonprofit professionals, so I really appreciate that you're here with me today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so we're here to talk about email welcome journeys today. And all right, while I get my Zoom controls in the right place. So I'm really glad all of you are here, as I mentioned, and I'm so glad you have already shared what organization you're working for. I'm curious to know, if you want to go ahead and throw this in the chat if you like, what CRM, if any, are you using? So also known as a database. And what email program are you using? This is just, I'm just curious. So if you want to help me see what it is that you are doing, that's always great for me. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of Constant Contact and MailChimp for email. That's great. And then it looks like we have all kinds of different databases, including none. Wonderful. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so by way of introduction, my name is Patty. I work with the Purpose Collective, which is a digital marketing consulting firm. We work primarily with nonprofits. I used to work for a nonprofit myself, most recently for one that was based in Nepal. And so we had a really interesting challenge for that organization. All of our supporters were 8,000 miles away from us. So we had to figure out, how do we get people to care about a place they've never been and people they've never met, and all we have is the internet. So I learned a lot about how to write compelling social media posts, blog posts, emails, things that make people feel connected to the work that was happening in another country on another continent from them. And I decided, we were really successful as a team effort. I decided to take what I had learned there and start a consulting firm to help other nonprofits. So that's me. And enough about me. I want to hear more about you. I'm curious to know, have any of you guys ever set up an automated email welcome journey? So there are a couple of choices here. Jordan, I don't know if you wanted to do a poll or just go ahead and have everyone throw it in the chat. Either way is fine with me. Thank you for your honesty. Those of you who are saying C, what's a welcome journey? I appreciate that you are willing to admit that you don't know that yet. I'm seeing a lot of B's, a few A's. That's great. For those of you who have already set this up in the past, that's wonderful. I think you're ahead of the pack in that sense. B and C, I love it. Okay, so let's get started. To answer the question, what is an email welcome journey? For those of you who answered C, It is a series of emails sent directly after someone takes an action with you, usually triggered automatically. So that action that someone might take with you could be anything from making a donation, signing up for your email list, signing up to volunteer, RSVPing to an event. The list goes on. And research shows that the window of time immediately following someone's action with you is the best time to contact them. That's when they want to hear from you. That's when they're most excited about you and your work. And so these emails are designed to sort of take advantage of that window. They have a lot of other names. They can be called nurture series. Sometimes they're called a drip campaign. But the idea is they're providing a personalized, warm welcome. This is not like a one-size-fits-all email newsletter that goes out on a schedule that you set. This is triggered by their action. And it's also designed to provide the supporter with more information, further engage them with their work, with your work, excuse me, validate their decision to support you, and draw them into your story. So that's what an email welcome journey is. And a little bit about how they are structured. So as I mentioned, research shows the best time to contact someone is immediately after they take an action with you. And I wanted to sort of focus on this concept of immediately. Like, why do we need to contact someone immediately after they take an action with us? So let's use a real world example to illustrate this point. So I'd love for you guys to picture a cute little restaurant. Maybe one like in this photo that has a great little interior courtyard. If you were going to eat at a new restaurant like this, what efforts do you think you would have put into coming to this restaurant beforehand? You can throw some ideas in the chat if you like. I know for me, when I go to a new restaurant, it's often because a friend told me about it. So I've heard about it through word of mouth. Google reviews, great. That's another reason. Maybe you're a person who likes to research which restaurants in the area have the best reviews on Google or Yelp or TripAdvisor or whatever it might be. Maybe you saw a post about it on Instagram. Yeah, the menu, maybe the menu looked really good. Maybe you were dying to have pizza and the pizza menu at this place looked wonderful. Maybe you were just out for a stroll and you knew you wanted to eat somewhere and you walked past 10 other restaurants, but this one caught your eye. So you went in. Yeah, maybe it was a great location. It was really close to your house, whatever it might be. The point here is that you probably put some thought into your selection of this restaurant. It probably wasn't totally random that you ended up here. Now I want you to imagine that you walk into this restaurant and the staff greets you with a smile. So they say, hey, thank you so much for coming in. Can we take your coat? Have you been in here before? Would you like to sit inside or outside? We're so glad you're here. How would you feel if this is how the staff of this restaurant greeted you? I know, lovely. I know that I would feel validated. I would feel like, I made such a good decision choosing this restaurant. They're happy I'm here and I'm happy I'm here. Yeah, we'd feel a lot of positive feelings towards this restaurant. We'd feel welcomed. These are great answers. All right, I want you to imagine a second scenario. Imagine that you walk into this restaurant and the staff ignores you. You can hardly get their attention. So they're off doing something, you're standing at the front of the restaurant for like 5-10 minutes, just nobody is acknowledging you. What effect do you think that would have on you? Would you feel good about your choice to come to this restaurant? All right, I'm seeing that a lot of you would feel like you're unimportant, you're disappointed, you would leave. You'd be annoyed, you'd feel like coming in was a mistake. Yeah, I know I would start to question like, oh, are they open tonight? Maybe they're having a private party? Should I have made a reservation? I should probably go somewhere else if I want to eat because no one's really acknowledging me here. And yeah, maybe I'd go ahead and give them a bad review online. So yeah, disappointed, neglected, questioning my choice. So this sort of points out something about human nature. All of us, no matter who we are, we want to be welcomed and we want to have our decisions be validated. So if we're talking about a restaurant or a nonprofit, we want to feel like we're welcome there and we're appreciated and people are glad we came. So when someone makes a donation to our nonprofits and we follow that donation with silence or with nothing more than like an automatic receipt, I believe we are being like the restaurant in scenario number 2. So someone has put in a lot of effort to find us. Maybe they heard about us through word of mouth. Maybe they reviewed us online. Maybe we're addressing a cause that's near and dear to their heart. And they show up and they're like, all right, I'm here. I'm so happy that I found you guys. I'm so happy to support you. And if they're being ignored, then we are missing an opportunity to turn that person into a meaningful supporter for the work that we do. Which is why we want to set up these welcome email journeys. So a few statistics here. Users who receive one of these series show 33% more engagement with the brand that sent them the email welcome. And as you all, I'm sure, are familiar with, the average donor retention rate industry-wide is around 40 to 45%, meaning more than half of the people who give to your organization are not going to give again. Welcome journeys can change that. So you've worked hard to get these donors to come to your organization. And now let's talk about how we can keep them and have a better rate than 40 to 45%. Okay, another quick question for everybody. Again, you can just throw A, B, or C in the chat. Do you know what your organization's average email open and click rates are? Seeing a lot of A's. Awesome. So you guys are familiar with this. For those of you who are not quite familiar with that, or not sure, here is the industry average as reported by MailChimp. So the open rate across the nonprofit industry is about 21%. And the click rate is 2 to 3%. For those of you who answered A, I hope this is in the neighborhood of what you're seeing for your open and click rates. If your open rates or click rates are higher, congratulations, you're doing something right. You have a very engaged audience. But basically, the reason I want to highlight this is that welcome emails tend to see a much higher open rate. So the average open rate for a welcome email is 50%. So that makes it twice as effective as a standard email that you're going to send out. That is more than double the average email open rate for the industry. Here at the Purpose Collective, we have set up these email welcome journeys for several organizations, and we have seen this play out. Here is an example. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many statistics, but this is what we've seen in practice, in actuality. So we've had this first line here, a small nonprofit. Their average open rate for all of their emails was 15%. We set up an email welcome journey for them, and those messages saw a 50% open rate. As you can see down the line, every organization that we've done this for sees their open rates double for these messages. Same with the click rates. Click rates are doubling, if not quadrupling. I don't know if a 12.7% click rate is insane. That's really hard to get. So these email welcome journeys are really successful. People want these emails. They want to open them. They want to read them. Okay. hopefully now I've convinced you of the value of a welcome journey. And today I'd like to help you get started on creating one for your organization. So my goal is that you're going to be able to make a start, a real start on this today. So if you have a place where you can take notes, the template that Jordan shared earlier, you're welcome to make a copy of that Google document and start making notes in there for yourself. It doesn't have to be in there though. You could write this down on a piece of paper. You could jot it down in a notes app, whatever you'd like to do. But let's get started. So the structure of a welcome journey in general is going to be 3 to 5 messages. Ideally, this is going to start immediately, continuing for up to about 4 weeks later. So we don't really recommend creating automated messages that come further than a month after the action, but you can. That's sort of just like a rule of thumb. And this one is key here. I want to make sure that in these email welcome journeys, we're always providing something of value to your supporters. So this is not an opportunity for you to talk more about yourself and your organization. We want to give the reader something that they want, something that they enjoy, something that will entertain them, something that will help them, if anything, just gratitude to make them feel good about what they've done. So please keep in mind as we go through this is about them, not you. Yes, you'll definitely be able to get this slide deck after the presentation. Okay, so for our workshop today, we're going to focus on a donation welcome journey. So someone makes a donation to your organization, this series of emails is triggered. This is the most popular form of a welcome journey we found because this is your most engaged audience. And these are the folks that we definitely want to keep around for as long as possible and draw them into your story as deeply as we can. So how are we going to structure this for a donor series? We recommend creating the first email as a plain text gratitude message and sending this as quickly as 0 hours later or 24 hours later after the donation. I understand that some of you might have an email program that has like an overnight sync. So it might take a while for their data to make it over your email list, which is fine as long as we're hitting that like as soon as possible window of time. And for these donor series, we recommend when you first set these up to send these to everyone, new donors, returning donors alike. We don't want anyone to get this journey more than once, but I think if someone has been giving to you for a few years and they give again, it's totally fine to send them a donor welcome series, especially if it's brand new. The second email that we're going to send, that we recommend sending, is a story of impact. And this would be 1 to 3 days later. So 1 to 3 days after that first message. And then the third email we're going to send is a request for them to take an action with you. The fourth email is more storytelling, another story of impact, 2 weeks after that previous email. And the fifth and final email request to become a monthly donor 3 to 4 weeks later. So I'm sorry, the timing on all of these is after the donation was made. So immediately we're sending email number 1, waiting a few days, email number 2, waiting a full week after the donation for email 3, etc. So this request to become a monthly donor would come ideally at around the 1 month anniversary of the gift that they gave you. Okay, so let's keep going here. The trigger here, as I said, should be a new one-time donation is made. So not a new donor, just a new donation that comes in. If you want to trigger this for new monthly recurring gifts, you definitely can. We just want to make sure that donor does not receive that 5th email asking them to become a monthly donor. The goals of this journey, we want to express gratitude first and foremost. I personally believe that you cannot say thank you too much. I don't know if there has ever been a donor who's had a reaction of just rolling their eyes and being like, this nonprofit won't shut up about how grateful they are for me. I think everybody likes to be thanked. So if we do nothing else, let's express gratitude in this journey. We also want to validate the donor's decision to give. So this is going back to what we talked about before. All of us want our decisions to be validated. We all want to feel like we're doing the right thing. And we want to draw these supporters more fully into the story of your organization. So we want them to see that they're a part of something bigger. They're making the world a better place. They have an important role with what you're doing, and what you're doing is important. And then our final goal is we want to convert them to a monthly donor. I think we're all pretty familiar with why monthly donors are so valuable to us as organizations. And this is a really warm audience to ask to become a monthly donor. So we want to make sure we're taking advantage of that opportunity. Okay, let's get into the details of each email. So the first email that I recommend sending for a donor welcome series is a plain text gratitude message, ideally from the founder or the executive director of your organization, somebody who would be recognizable to the folks who gave. And the timing on this one is as close to immediately as possible, up to 1 day after the donation, if you need, like I said, if you need time for your program to sync information over to your email client overnight or whatever it might be. And let's take a look at some examples from other organizations, see how they've done this. So this is an example from the Blink Now Foundation. Maggie Doyne is the founder of this organization. And so this is just a really simple, plain text, pretty personal feeling email. So she basically says, every week I get notifications of any donations that have come in, and I quietly breathe a sigh of relief. Sometimes I even do a dance, she says. Sometimes I cry, because this work that we're doing is hard, and there's emotional days and there's sleepless nights. And if we don't get donations, then, you know, all this work is going to stop. And that's when it comes to you. When you give, it directly transforms the lives of our children here. It enables this work we do, and it transforms this community from the ground up. Thank you so, so much for your generosity. Go ahead and put a +1 in the chat if you find this email compelling. You gave a donation and you got a response like this. Would you feel pretty darn good about what you had just done? I'm seeing a lot of +1s. Thank you so much. So this is the power of a simple plain text gratitude message. It's personalized, it's warm. This, for those of you who would know this person, this is how she talks. So it feels very authentic. Yes, thank you, Holland. It feels genuine. So this is what we're going for in that first email. Here's another example from a different organization. This is also from the executive director, the founder, and his personality is goofy. He's a total goofball. The organization works with young adults. It's sort of part of their personality is that they like to joke around. So this email is written in that tone. So it says, "You're great. I mean it. Really, really great. You crushed it. Thank you for changing lives with us. Pat yourself on the back today. You deserve it." So again, this is also, look at this email is like 5 or 6 sentences. It's super short, but it gets the point across that you're appreciated, and it's done in a way that is in line with this organization's character, with who they are, with how they want to represent themselves in the world. Another email that I want to highlight, this is from an animal sanctuary, another plain text gratitude message. So it starts out just saying, you know, I saw that you recently made a donation and I wanted to reach out to you with my gratitude. One thing I do want to highlight here is the second paragraph. It starts with this sentence that says, "I'm sorry that you haven't heard from me sooner. To be honest, I feel like I haven't stopped moving since we started our work here. basically what this founder is saying is, I'm late sending you this email. So in this case, this was sent retroactively to people who had donated in the previous 6 months. And this founder owned up to the fact that it was a little bit late, this thank you message. And it was still really well received. It comes across, again, as very genuine, being a little bit vulnerable, saying, I made a mistake and I'm sorry about that. I'm not saying you need to send a retroactive journey to your past donors unless you want to. I'm just including this here as an example of being real with people, being honest with people tends to land very well. All right, one last example here. So this is an email that I got after I made a donation to an organization on Giving Tuesday. And one thing to note here is they say, please know that your continued support is truly appreciated. So they recognize that I had given to them before and I gave again. To this day, I do not know if this email was automated or if Jody Landers actually sat down and wrote me this email on Giving Tuesday to thank me for my gift. If it was automated, they fooled me. I totally believe that this person sent me this message to thank me for giving, and it worked really well. I felt very appreciated for what I had done. Okay, so to review the elements of this first email, we want it to be written from the first person. So this is a person's name on the email, and they are saying, I am grateful for you. Thank you so much for helping us. It's you focused. So it's saying, you know, you are wonderful. You made a gift that makes a difference. Thanks to you, now this work is possible. And it feels personal, vulnerable, meaningful. There's not a lot of like professional corporate talk in these emails. It feels like a person really did sit down and write this message to you. And gratitude is the goal. That's the point of this first email. We're not trying to do anything other than make this person feel really appreciated for the support that they gave you. And it's a true plain text email if that's possible with your email program. This is definitely possible in MailChimp. Constant Contact plain text emails don't look quite as convincingly plain text as MailChimp's, but they work fine as well. So the point is there's no fancy HTML elements in here of images and buttons and fancy things. It's just straight text. Okay, so I want you guys all to think about your organizations. Who should your plain text gratitude message come from? Is there a person who has traditionally been the spokesperson for your organization? Should it be you? What feels like the best fit here? And then another question for you to think about is, what is your organization's tone? Do you want to come across as warm and heartfelt? Are you maybe a little bit more in that goofy category of celebrating somebody in a fun, funky way? What feels good to you? Pardon me while I lose an AirPod. So there's a question in here about how the Colorado Gives platform sends an automated receipt email. I think don't change anything about those automated receipt emails. Those are great. We want to keep those going. This is in addition to that. So yes, we should send both.
And this is Jordan, just to provide a little bit more context to that. Yeah, so your donors are getting that automated receipt that has the tax deductible language. You as a nonprofit can log in and affect that receipt. So you can insert custom text directly into the donation receipt. You can also insert it on a thank you page that the donors land on. So there are ways that you can customize the donation experience even through Colorado Gives. But then exactly what Patty's saying, this is really in addition or supplemental to bring them into the fold and conversation of your organization. That's a great question.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, moving right along to the second email. So this is going to be one where we tell a story of impact, and the timing is ideally around 1 to 3 days after the donation. So some examples of how other organizations have done this. This is an organization that works with young adults who have had serious illnesses. So this is a first-person narrative from a participant in the program who says, cancer had split my identity in two. There was the self-assured version of me, and then there was the lonely version of me. Then I came to this organization's summer camp, and it changed my life. And what I want to point out here is that we are hearing about this person's story and about her journey, but it's still a donor-centric message. So it says, I participated in this program, one of the important programs made possible by generous donors like you. So thanks to your support, this program was able to happen, and I was able to change my life. So when we read stories like this, we feel like our donation really mattered because it's causing life-changing work in the world. Here's another one from the animal sanctuary. This is telling a story about a donkey named Patches. When he showed up, he was dying, he was starving, he was malnourished. He had to be rushed to the vet hospital, and he made this miraculous recovery thanks to donors like you who donate to support our organization and make recovery like this possible. So these are stories about us and the work that we're doing at our organizations, but they're still you focused. Thanks to you, we're able to do this. Your support has enabled all of this important work to happen. Here's another example from an organization that works to help children be released from detention centers at the border. And this quote says it all. Thanks to you, I have my little one by my side. This is another message from a community member saying, I'm writing to thank you for what you did for my family. It was terrible being separated from my child. And thanks to your support of this organization and the work that we're doing, we've been reunited. So these stories are really powerful. Especially because they're told in the first person narrative. So we as human beings, it can be a little bit hard for us to wrap our heads around statistics. So if we hear that, 300,000 people are affected by XYZ and, 40% of them have this problem and this other program has resulted in a 10% increase, and those numbers can kind of go in one ear and out the other. But when we hear about one person and what they went through, that really, we're able to connect with that. That resonates with us. So think about a first person narrative that you could potentially tell respectfully. And also just, is there a really good story that you can tell? It's another thing about our brains as human beings. We're wired for stories. We love them. We eat them up. We want to know what happens next. So is there a heartwarming story you can tell about the work you're doing? A sweet story you can tell, an emotional story? Think about what feels like a good fit for your organization. What stories you might tell someone at a dinner party if you were going to tell them about the importance of your work. And like I mentioned, this is still you focused. We want to use a lot of the word you as much as possible. So thanks to you, this work is possible. Thanks to your support, lives are being changed. The donor is the hero in these emails. Another quick thing to note, we want to aim for a 6th grade reading level. So that means we want to use really simple language. We don't want to get too bogged down into professional sounding terms that have multiple syllables, and we want to write the way we talk. So this email should be, hey, I want to tell you a story. Here's what happened. There was a really difficult thing. We didn't know if we were going to get through it. Thankfully, we did. This kind of transformation is possible because of you. So This is not a grant application. Don't worry about getting too fancy. Just use nice, simple language. Okay, so again, I challenge you guys to think, what amazing story can you tell about your organization's work? Can you jot down some ideas right now? Or is there a story that's coming to mind? Is there a particular person, a particular case, a particular victory that you would like to highlight in this email? Okay, email number 3. This is an engagement request. So we want to ask our supporters to take another action with us. Maybe that's completing a survey, signing a petition, sharing a photo on Facebook for us, attending an event, signing up to volunteer, whatever it might be. Just make sure this email, we are not asking for another donation. So this is coming about a week after the donation. This is too soon to ask them to give again. So we're not going to do that here. We're just saying, hey, we really like you and we'd like to hang out with you. You want to come do one of these things with us? So here's an example from an organization that basically says, you know, hey, here's some information that I wanted to share with you, but if you have time to reply and say hi, please do. I want to hear from you. So this is a really simple engagement request, just saying, you know, who are you? I'd like to learn more about you. I'd like to learn what brought you to our organization. Why does this work resonate with you? Do you have a particular story you'd like to share about why this is meaningful to you? I want to hear it if you do. This is probably the most basic form of an engagement request that any organization could put into place. Here's another one from the animal sanctuary, where they are basically saying the global population of donkeys is threatened. Will you share this post on social media to help us raise awareness about this problem? Here's the picture, here's the caption. All you have to do is put it on your own social media account. That would be really helpful for us if you could help us get the word out. This is an organization that asked for a survey. So this is one of the founders who says, you know, we believe everyone here at our organization has a really important story. And that includes you. What's your story? We want to know who you are. And we'd love to get to know you better. So here's a link to our really quick, really short 2-minute survey. Just tell us who you are. Tell us how you found us. Tell us whatever you'd like to tell us about you. So in summary, this third email, we want it to be warm and inviting. We're essentially saying, hey, we like you. We want to get to know you better. Will you take our survey? Will you share this post? Will you come to our event? Will you volunteer? Whatever it might be. But it's a warm invitation. And we want to get to know you. We like you. You gave money to us. Let's be friends. Let's hang out. This is an invitation into the inner circle. So think about it as these folks are the most engaged with you. How can we draw them further into that inner circle of supporters? Something for you guys to think about and jot down right now if you can. What action can you invite your donors to take? Is it volunteering with you? Is it a survey? Is it just hitting reply to the email so you can find out more about them? Is it a petition? Is it writing a letter to an elected representative? Is it an event? Whatever it is, take a moment now and write down some of those ideas. All right, the fourth email. We are going to go back to more storytelling. And the power of story, I cannot overemphasize the power of storytelling. So this is going to be about 2 weeks later. Again, the point here is that we are illustrating to your supporters how important your work is and how important their involvement is in it, and showing them that they have a really important role here. They are wanted, that they are part of this, they're part of a movement. So we're going to tell another story. I do want to make a quick note that if you wanted to, you could just start with building the first 3 emails in this donor series. And you could get those up and running first, and you can come back and create this fourth email a little bit later. I mean, you have another 2 weeks after a donation comes in. So even if you just said, I'm going to get the first 3 live, and then next week I'm going to worry about email number 4, that's a possibility. Or you could say, I'm going to get the first 3 emails of this series live, and then next year I'm going to worry about email number 4. You can do whatever you like. We definitely recommend having some emails set up. Some are better than none. So if you don't feel like you have time to develop all 5, that's fine. Start with the first 3. Okay, so some other examples of this storytelling in action. This is that same organization that works with young adults who've had serious illnesses, talking about these, just again, life-changing stories. I was diagnosed with cancer. It was awful. I found this organization, my life got so much better. All thanks to you. Thank you for supporting transformations like mine. Here's another one from the organization that works with children at the border. It's just a story. I want to tell you a story is how this email starts, about a 5-year-old boy from Guatemala who I'll call Marco. We can't help but keep reading when we get an email like this. We want to know what happens to Marco. So really excellent way to structure an email. This is an organization that decided to take one of their students and have the email come from him and say, you know, I've always wanted to go to university. Now, thanks to supporters like you, my dream is becoming a reality. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited. So again, elements of email number 4 is pretty similar to the second email. It's still a first person narrative if you can. It's still aiming to stir up those emotions. So we want people to feel something. We want them to feel good feelings towards us, heartwarming feelings. As much as we can get them to feel, the better. It's still you focused. Sorry, I didn't mean to go so fast. So we're still talking to the donor and saying, you're making stories like these possible with your support. Thank you. So same question for you now that I had a few slides earlier. What's another sweet, heartwarming, amazing story that you can tell? Maybe it's your founding story. Maybe it's how the organization came to be in the first place. Maybe it's a story from one of your volunteers. Whatever it might be, if you want to take a moment right now and write down some ideas for that, I encourage you to. Okay, so this 5th and final email, this is where we're going to request that this supporter becomes a monthly donor. So this is going to come about 3 to 4 weeks after the donation. Ideally, like I said, it's about, they made a donation 1 month later. At the end of the journey, we're asking them to become a monthly donor. We want to exclude people who are already giving monthly from this email. So make sure that monthly donors are marked as such so they can be kicked out of the journey at this point, not receive this email. And an important thing to note here is we want to start off this email by saying, hey, we see you and we remember you and we remember the gift that you gave us a month ago. So this email, as you can see, it says you recently made a generous decision to help rescue donkeys recover from passive use. So we're still thinking about how compassionate you are. So this email starts off by saying, you gave a gift recently, we see you, we remember you. And then the invitation to become a monthly supporter is presented as exactly that, an invitation saying, hey, we thought this might be a really good fit for you. We know you care about this cause. We know that you care enough to give and that you gave recently. So what do you think? Do you want to join this monthly giving program? We think it's perfect for you. So this is an ask that is carefully constructed to show the donor that you're paying attention and you remember them. And it's not just like this, excuse me, one size fits all, give us money, please, everybody. It's very specifically saying, Here's why we're asking you to become a monthly recurring donor. And thank you for those stats, Jordan. Monthly recurring donors are so valuable. So the more we can try to recruit people to our monthly giving programs, the better. Here's another example of an email. This is just a plain text message saying, you know, the work we do here, it's important, but it's hard. And we're wondering if you would help us with this important hard work by becoming a monthly donor. Again, this email does start off by saying, you recently made a generous donation. We're still thinking about that donation and how great it is. Okay, so I see a question here. Do we risk increasing our unsubscribes at this point if the emails aren't resonating? Then they leave our regular marketing series too. That's always a risk. I wouldn't worry about that too much. You want to be emailing people who want to hear from you. And so if these emails aren't resonating with them, I don't know why your regular email newsletters would. And if they say, you know what, I don't want any emails from you anymore, great, let them unsubscribe. That'll help with your deliverability rates. It'll help if you have higher open rates all around. So I wouldn't worry about that here. Also, again, the statistics that I showed you earlier, people in my experience, they want to get these messages. They're really opening them. They're clicking on them. They're paying attention to them, but every audience is different. So when you set this up, I would pay attention to see, are people opening these emails? Are they reading them? Of the 5 that you set up, is one of them getting a lower open rate than the other 4? Should we focus on that email? Can we change the subject line? Can we change the content? Definitely pay attention to how these perform with your audience. But I wouldn't worry about unsubscribes. Okay, so in summary for this 5th email, we're starting with gratitude again, saying we remember your previous gift and we're grateful for it. We know exactly who you are, and make a case for why they should give monthly. You know, here is the difference that you could make in the world if you decided to give monthly. Here are the lives that we could change if we had more support. So I encourage you guys to think, how will you ask your donors to change the world with you? What is the case that you can make for becoming a recurring supporter for your organization? Hopefully, many of you already have this language handy, but it's something to think about for this last email. Okay, we have just a few minutes left, and I want to make sure I leave time for questions. So in summary, here are the 5 emails that we recommend setting up for a donor welcome series. A few quick tips. I mentioned this one already. I know you're busy, so if you just want to start with 3 emails instead of 5, great. You can always add to it later on. Also, you know, things have a tendency to sneak up on us. So if you realize that Colorado Gives Day is right around the corner and you don't have a donor welcome series set up yet, and you know you're going to get a big influx of donations on Colorado Gives Day, just see if you can create 1, 2, 3 emails in your series. Even 1 is better than none. So that when that rush of donation comes in, you have these messages going out, and then later you can work on making the journey longer if you want. We also advise to segment your list, meaning if anybody is actively in the middle of a journey, we think you should exclude them from your other messages. So basically that means when a donation comes in, if you have a month-long welcome series, don't send anybody your regular email newsletter for that first month. Let them get this journey first and foremost, and then put them into the general distribution lists. Here are some links if you want to go see all those organizations that I just highlighted. If you want to sign up for their email newsletter or make a donation and see what series they send you as a result, feel free. They're all doing a wonderful job. And let's get to questions. I see we have a few here in the chat. Do we need to include a box on our donation form to opt into receiving communication in order to do this? Yes, that is industry best practice. you always want to have permission to email people before you start sending them messages. So absolutely, if you can include a box in your donation form, or if there's some other way that you can get their express permission to contact them, you should absolutely do this. Let's see some other questions. What if we're using a CRM and email system that don't integrate? Do we need to manually import new donors to the series? Yes, unless you can get a program like Zapier to do it for you. I'm not sure exactly which CRM and email program that you're using, but yes, I don't know how you would normally get your donors onto your email list. I imagine it's probably a manual process. But if you just want to say, all right, every Monday, I'm just going to import all the new donors, start them on a journey in our email program, that's great too. So it's 5, 6, 7 days before they get that first email. That's okay. It's better than nothing. I do recommend, if you can, to automate this as much as possible. We want this to be like a set it and forget it type of thing, so that you can focus your time and energy on other things. Are these emails automatically triggered and timed through Constant Contact, MailChimp, or through the CRM? Do you have any insight on setting these up on the back end? Yes, they would be automatically triggered by MailChimp or Constant Contact. So ideally, you'd want your CRM to be linked to MailChimp or to Constant Contact, and you'd want to be able to identify people who are synced over from the CRM to the email program. You'd want to tag them in MailChimp as being a donor who needs a new series, or put them in a segment in Constant Contact saying if they're in this segment, they should get this email series. That is a little bit more of a complicated question to answer, and it's going to depend on which CRM you're using and which email program you're using. But this is the area of email welcome journeys that I love to talk about. I love the automated part of it. I'm a huge database geek, and I love getting in there and making a database do something for us so that we have more free time. So I do just want to mention really quickly that we offer something called free office hours at the Purpose Collective. This is every Monday. You can sign up for a time slot. It's not a sales consultation. You just get us for an hour for free to ask us whatever you want. So if you have a question about like, how do I trigger these emails from my CRM to my email program, we can definitely roll up our sleeves and dive into this with you during one of those sessions. Would you consider shifting email number 5 to a sustainer increase amount for existing sustainers? That's a good question. I don't love asking monthly donors to give more. I feel like sometimes that ends up in people canceling their monthly donations. But if you want to do that, if that feels like a good fit for your audience, that could be a good use for email number 5. Would you suggest doing a welcome journey for donors who donate via check and only offer their physical mailing address, do not have email? Yes, I think what you're suggesting here, like condensing the steps into one piece of mail, I think that's a good idea for check donors. I also want to be protective of your time though, because sending, I don't know how many check donations you're getting, but sending individual thank you letters out for all of them could potentially be overwhelming. So if that's the case, if you're getting tons of checks by mail, I might suggest setting a threshold, like, okay, everyone who gave at least $100 is going to get a letter from us. Or if it's just a few check donations here and there, yes, absolutely send them something in the mail. It could be as simple as a postcard, something that doesn't require a lot of work on your end to put together. But yes, I think something for those check donors is a really good idea. And is there a step-by-step how to do the setup for us who aren't familiar with this terminology? I'm not sure what that question means, Brianna, but if you want to elaborate, I would be happy to try to answer it. Do you have a website platform you'd recommend to support this type of donation responses, et cetera? Probably the most popular platform for our clients that we've seen is a Bloomerang MailChimp. system where Bloomerang is their database and MailChimp is their email program. And those two programs talk to each other. And when a donation comes through in Bloomerang, it automatically sends someone on a journey in MailChimp. Happy to talk about that more on an individual office hours session. If you're looking for a new CRM, if you're looking for a new donation platform and you want to know what's out there, we can definitely talk you through some options. Of course, Colorado Gives has great donation options as well. Cool, we have 2 minutes left. What other questions are there potentially we could squeeze in?
Did we answer the one around open rates? So the reliability versus unreliability of open rates and how folks should navigate or trust that? I saw that come up once or twice.
Yeah, thank you. So it's a good question. Basically, Apple made a change to how their email program works quite a few months ago now, about a year ago. And so there's this big question about, like, it seemed like the Apple email program was going to open every message, and that might skew open rates because it would make it look like people were opening your email when really the app had done it and the person hadn't. I would say I have not personally seen a big difference in open rates since that change was rolled out by Apple. It is worth noting that the open rate and click rate, it's a guessing game to begin with. It's an inexact science. We're trying to figure out who opened our email and who clicked on it, but sometimes those stats are wrong. So I would say we want to take it with a grain of salt. And the larger numbers are generally helpful. So if you send an email out and it gets a 45% open rate, that's a pretty good indication that that email was well received, as opposed to if you send one out and it gets a 10% open rate, maybe not as well received as the 45% one. I think there's still a good general indicator of what's going on with our emails.
Awesome. Well, everybody is thanking you. I got some direct messages that was like, this is the best. This is an amazing webinar. So thank you so much. I know this is just to break it down in such a straightforward way. I think it's going to empower so many people, including Colorado Gives Foundation. You know, we have some work on some welcome emails for new nonprofits joining the platform. So this is universally helpful, and I can't thank you guys enough. Just to close it out, want to remind everybody, we'll send a follow-up email. It'll have the template. It'll have a blog link that the Purpose Collective wrote on Welcome Series. And then, of course, this slide deck and the office hours link. So lots of resources available. And thank you so much, Patty and Purpose Collective team. It's been great to collaborate with you, and this has been a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for giving me an hour of your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.